The noodles are definitely more chewy than the previous instant ramen noodles. Can't say I'm a huge fan about that. That's not terrible. Not bad, but not my favorite. The broth is really good, though. I don't like the noodles so much, but I do enjoy the broth. I'll say that this one is probably my least favorite so far. But it's not necessarily bad. It just, honestly, is like screaming for a meatball, right? A pho meatball. Maybe I am tasting the beef flavor. Like, maybe that's why I'm thinking meatball. I always put meatballs in my pho. I'm gonna give them the rating of this lady. She's like, huh? Where's the meatball? I can't hear it.
Where's that meatball?
I can't hear that meatball.
Not too bad. I'm not afraid to say that instant pho might just not be for me. But maybe it's for somebody. All right, back on the ramen noodle grind. This is Sapporo Ichiban, Japanese-style noodle and beef-flavored soup. Cook in 3 minutes, and it guarantees the traditional quality of Sapporo Ichiban, of which I'm unfamiliar. This one is so beefy that the broth is nice and brown. I like it. I like taking a stop to Browntown on the noodle train. Hot. Very, very hot. Ooh. Tasty. This one's pretty good, though. When it comes to, like, the beef flavor, I'm a big fan. But the question I have is, would I actually recognize it as beef flavor if I didn't know that's what they said it was? I don't really know. But, I mean, I like this. I'd eat a whole bowl of this. What it's lacking is that it doesn't have anything to, like, stand out from the crowd. The traditional quality of Sapporo Ichiban sure does taste like the traditional quality of every other instant ramen that I've tried. Let's just go for the broth real quick. The broth tastes nice. Taste of sodium. All in all, not too bad. Not too bad. I can't say that I would reach for it over anything else, really. But if served it, I wouldn't complain. As for the rating, I'm gonna go with this girl. She's going, it's pretty good, but I wouldn't tell anybody about this ramen. Okay, well, I think this is the first one where right off the bat, I'm not too stoked. This is the La Baudet Sanfam Che Trien Thong Mi Che Chua Ke Instant Ramen Noodles Hot and Sour flavor. Not only do I find the idea of a hot and sour noodle flavor repulsive, I can't say that the smell is any better either. I'm not sure that I would describe it as sour, but it definitely has an unusual smell to it. Maybe it's the sodium carboxyl menthol cellulose? I don't know what 90% of this stuff is.
Well, it doesn't
not really
taste very
hot.
It doesn't
Not
taste
really
very
sour. Maybe it's a little sour? Maybe it's the disodium 5-guanylate. It just tastes like a little bit stinky. Just a little bit. Mostly, though, they're pretty flavorless. I would say that this is probably the least flavorful noodle that I've had so far. Very mild in flavor, so you might want to add something to it if this is what you choose to get. It's a hard pass for me. Not offensive, but, you know. All right, well, it's at this point of my instant noodle journey that I must confess, maybe I bit off a little more than I could chew. It's a lot of instant noodles. I don't think anyone should eat this many instant noodles in sequence, you know? I think we're about halfway done. I don't really know, but let's keep going. This is the Sapporo Ichiban Japanese-style noodles and original flavored soup. So I'm assuming this one's gonna taste like original, whatever that is. Oh, well, I like that. I wish there was some type of direction as to what original flavor means. I'm not sure. It tastes to me like soy sauce and salt. It makes me kind of thirsty, actually. Still so hot. This one's pretty tasty, but once again, I feel like it doesn't really set itself apart from other regular instant ramens. They all kind of end up tasting about the same. So imagine like a traditional instant ramen beef flavor, but without the beef flavor, and that's pretty much what you got here. Is it possible that I would like it more if I hadn't just taste tested a number of other ramens? Absolutely. I'm gonna give it a rating of this girl. She's kind of going like, oh, I don't know which ramen noodle I'm tasting right now. It could be this one or it could be this one. They all taste the same. So that's my impersonation of a woman, I guess. Okay, well, things are going from bad to worse over here. These are the Jin Ramen spicy noodles. No other information on here except that they are Korean-style instant noodles and that they are spicy. I will say that at first glance, this is a much more faceted instant noodle. There's a lot more going on here. The broth it's got a nice color to it. It does look a little bit hot. There's little chunks of things in there. You got green chunks, orange chunks, meat-looking chunks. So this does look like a high-quality instant ramen here. I just can't say I'm really looking forward to it is all. I'm fine. It's definitely not an extreme heat. It's got a kick to it, but I feel mostly in the back of my throat. The noodles definitely have a different taste. I don't really taste the noodle at all, honestly. It just kind of tastes warm. I don't know how to describe the flavor because I don't feel like I taste anything. It just tastes like a soggy, wet, flopping, spicy noodle. That's about it. It is heating up as I eat, though. I will admit that. That'd clear my sinuses if I ate the whole bowl. Ah, that's a little too spicy for me. Nobody should eat this many instant noodles, especially not in a row, and especially not me. These are the Sapporo Ichiban chow mein with dried seaweed laver with dried seaweed. I really could have done without the dried seaweed. I'm not a seaweed fan, and that's all there is to say about it. The thing is, I do love chow mein. Also, I am extremely full right now. I'm not really a fan of the sauce of this one. It's okay. It's almost too sweet. It's just got an odd taste. I don't think it's the seaweed. I actually don't think that I taste the seaweed at all. It's a bit sweet of a noodle for me. I will say that it seems sweet. It's a little too sweet. I'm gonna be sick if I eat too many more noodles, man. You know, it's a bit sweet of a noodle. Too sweet on the sauce for me. Too sweet on the sauce. I keep looking through here, like waiting for a picture of a shrug. Does she not have a shrugging photo? Not my favorite. Kind of feel like the next time I take a poop, it's gonna come out as one really long noodle instead of like the little pellets that I usually drop. All right, so this is Mama Fogailian.
Did I not already eat this one?
It's original style instant canned noodles, chicken flavor. I guess I did the beef one last time, huh? I kind of already feel like I know how I'm gonna think about this one, but let's go for it. Oh, well, I don't like that. Well, I've already established that I don't really love the tapeworm noodles, but this one's got a weird taste. It doesn't taste like chicken. Is it supposed to taste like chicken? This one's got like a strange, weirdly, I don't want to say sweet again, but it's kind of ringing sweet. It's like a sweet plant tapeworm. I think the noodles are too chewy. They're too flat too. I don't like a flat, chewy noodle. I like a nice cylindrical, firm noodle, you know? This one's not great. One of my least favorites so far. I'm seriously so full. How many more times am I gonna have to say that noodle's firm? That noodle's soggy. That noodle's not very good. It tastes like sweet. All right, next up we've got Baldock Artificial Spicy Chicken Flavor Ramen. Now this is a curry spice. The entire room now smells of curry, which I do enjoy. That's a smell and a taste I do enjoy. What worries me is this guy here, Baldock himself. I've seen this man on various ramen packaging, and I'm pretty sure he's known for his extremely spicy noodle. It looks pretty good. It's got thicker ramen noodles than I prefer, but not too bad. It does seem to have a layer of redness, which seems to indicate heat. Oh no. It tastes good. It tastes good. It tastes of curry. I love the taste of curry. A little bit spicy though, I must admit. Tasty. Tasty. It very much is tasty. The forefront of my mouth is the curry taste. The heat is really taking place in the back of the throat. It's actually very good. It's not as spicy as I thought it was gonna be. The heat level, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd put it at maybe a 6. I would say it's spicier than the last spicy one we tried, definitely. But not unmanageable. This is probably one of my favorites so far. This is really good. I would love to see some, like, chicken in here. Cook some of this up. Cook some chicken up. Stick it in there, maybe some potatoes. Oh, yeah. I like it. Yeah. She's like, oh, my mouth, it burns my mouth, but it burns so good, you know? I will say that my lips are starting to hurt, just a little bit. This one here is very interesting. It's another Mama Pho An Lien, Oriental-style instant noodles, canned clear soup. I don't know what half of that means, but it looks very good. Of all the instant noodles that I've tasted so far, this one looks like one of the highest class. I don't know if it's the flecks of green in there or the chili flakes or whatever those are. And on top of that, the pho noodles are not thick and giant like the other ones, because I didn't really like that very much, so looks pretty good. I do have to amend my review from the last noodle. I want to raise the spice level up from a 7 to an 8. My mouth is still very tingly. I do really like these very thin tapeworm noodles. It's pretty good so far. Yeah. I would say that it's my favorite of the pho so far, but I can't say that I'm a huge fan of the taste. I don't know that I would reach for this over some of the other noodles. It's got a very, like, earthy taste to it, if that makes sense. Well, I don't know. It's not bad. It's not bad. I do quite like the broth. Actually, the more I eat it, the more it's warming on me. That's pretty tasty. All right, pretty good. Pretty good. I changed my mind. It's good. That's like the famous liar Pinocchio, right? This one made a liar out of me because I said I didn't like it at first, and then I ended up liking it. Boy, oh boy, I just can't wait to find out what sweaty noodle I'll slurp up next. Sapporo Ichiban Miso Ramen. This is soybean paste flavor, which just sounds super appetizing to me. I cannot recommend that anybody embark on a taste test journey quite like this. It's far too many instant noodles. Far too many. This one looks, nice and plain. The soup is brown. I mean, I'm rapidly running out of unique ways to describe noodles. They're long, they're thin, they're soft, they're new. They're new. It's too hot, but I want to be done so bad that I'm powering through. It's fine. It's good. You can really taste the soybean paste. What has my life become? Ow, hot. Pretty tasty though. I think the flavor's pretty good. I don't know that I'm not super familiar with the soybean paste flavor, but it's not bad. It's nice that it comes with the original spice pack. I was very concerned about that. And I would follow the instructions on the back that say try adding an egg, vegetables, or meat as desired. I think some egg and some vegetables and some meat, I do desire that. I desire to eat anything that's not a noodle right now. Will somebody help? Will you stop watching and laughing and help? I think it's all right. I think it's just fine. I wish this lady made like a, that's what I would give this. Oh, here we go. She's going like, time out, help me. I'm eating too many noodles. Somebody put a stop to the madness.
And yet her prayers will never be answered. For there is no God. There are only noodles.
Anyway, on to the next one. Oh good, this little asshole is back. Bulldog, artificial spicy chicken ramen, stir-fried ramen. Unlike the curry flavor, I gotta say, this one smells like shit. I don't know if that's the kimchi or if that's the spice, I don't know. And I gotta say, his expression on the packaging is not comforting. The other one was spicy, like curry spicy, but this is in a bright red bag. They style the noodles like they're radioactive. I'm very concerned. I'm concerned for my taste buds. I'm concerned for my bowels. What are these? Are these the little kimchis? I couldn't tell you what kimchi is. I have no idea. It's gonna be spicy. I really don't like the flavor. I feel like it's a huge step. I feel like it's a huge step down from the curry flavor. A bit of a step up in the spice, I think. Oh my God. Whew, it's hot. It's hot. I could not eat a full bowl of this. Absolutely not. I don't like it. I don't like it. It's hot. It's hot. Okay. Well, I'm done eating it, but at least I didn't cry. And really, mostly I just don't like the flavor. Oh, my lips are burning. I rate it this one. This is how I feel right now. I feel like, oh, it's so spicy. I gotta grit my teeth, but also, you know, I'm kind of a nerd. Sapporo Ichiban Japanese-style noodles, chicken flavor. Did I not already eat this? I'm pretty sure I already ate this. Holy shit. 0G trans fats, oh my God! Chicken flavor, well, you know, it looks like ramen. Ooh, what do we have here? Oh, it's noodles. Oh my God, I've never seen a noodle before. You know, it's pretty good. Chicken flavor instant ramen was always my go-to. Not this brand, obviously, but I like the chicken noodle ramen soup. I can't eat anymore, but it's very good. That may be just a little bit more. As a quality chicken-flavored instant ramen, okay? What do you want from me? Right, let's rate it. Let's rate it. It's okay. It's fine. It's fine. It's okay. Okay, there's one left to go, and then I think I'll be set free. I sure hope so. I really want to get out of the noodle zone. It was fun at first. It's not fun anymore. Sapporo Ichiban Shio Ramen, Japanese-style noodle. I don't know what a Shio Ramen is. I do know, however, that it comes with sesame pack. I'm starting to feel like if I eat another noodle, I might become a noodle. It looks like a bowl of noodles with some sesame on top. Let's stir that in there. I guess I am mildly interested to know what Shio tastes like. I just have no idea what it means. It's very hot. I don't like how it smells. It smells a little stinky. I don't know that I like that. Tastes a little plant-ish. Is Shio a plant of some sort? It's got a stinky smell. It's got a stinky taste. Well, it's a tough choice between these two, thumbs down and stinky nose. It's just not for me. Not for me. Okay, so I finished rating all the noodles. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. It's time for the final results. You know, one thing I didn't really plan for is how to interpret all of this data. I've got a lot of really good data now, but how am I gonna do this in a digestible format? Guess I'll just start dividing them into categories. Bad on the left, and do good over here. What does this mean? What do we think this means? I don't remember what I meant by that. So I've done the work. As you can see, I have divided these various noodles into different categories. We've got the good ones over here, we've got the bad ones over here, and then in the middle we have the ones where I don't really remember what I was thinking when I rated them. I like noodles a lot. I'm kind of surprised that I only seem to like 3 of them. Is that accurate? Like this one here. This one I interpret now as, oh, I don't like it. Ah. And then what was I thinking here? Like, what does this mean? What does that mean? I do hope that this information is helpful to someone out there. As much as I like to entertain, I'm really here to educate. I would say after doing all the research, after running all the numbers, after crunching all the emotions, slurping up those floppy, soggy, sweaty noodles, I can safely say that the best instant noodle is mee goreng. Mee goreng is delicious. My favorite instant noodle. I could eat it every day. I could eat it right now if I wanted to. Now some might say, well, that wasn't included in the taste test. You can't pick that one. I would tell those people to stay in your lane. You better watch out, okay? You better watch out, because you don't know who you're messing with. Hello everyone, it's me, Chef Ian Brutal Foods. We've had a lot of fun today talking about noodles and discussing their various lengths and slipperinesses, but right now I need to talk to you about something very serious, and it's that this video was sponsored by HelloFresh. We all know home-cooked meals are so much better for you, but we don't always have the time to pull it off. But with HelloFresh handling all the meal planning, shopping, and most of the prep, it's easier than ever to get dinner on the table quick and painless. No more endless recipe searching or spending money on a whole jar of spices for only a pinch, or sleeping through your daughter's funeral because you were up till 5 a.m. trying to plan your remaining family members' weekly meals. With HelloFresh, everything you need to make delicious meals comes right to your door, pre-portioned and fresh. And you can easily customize your meals with protein or veggie swaps, just like how I wish I could swap out which kid was with me when I rolled my car over that highway overpass. I just love how easy it is to cook now. And now you can get free breakfast for life by go to HelloFresh.com and use code FREEBrutalMoose. 1 free breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at HelloFresh.com with code FREEBrutalMoose. I didn't mean to do what I did. I mean, I really loved that car. Really though, if I have to pick my favorite out of these, I'm probably picking the curry. A little hot, but it was pretty tasty.
It's been 1 year since we last checked on Daniel Larson. He couldn't have gotten in much more trouble, could he?
You are gonna do. I am now declaring war. You'll be blown up soon. And yes, I will bomb the White House. Get out. I'm not gonna do it because I have my phone.
Get the f*** out of my car!
Find me! This crackhead.
Mr. Larson, would you like to say anything before I sentence you?
Just in case you're fortunate enough to have never heard of this guy, Daniel Larson is an autistic and bipolar man who spent the better part of the last decade obsessing over child actresses and singers to the point of stalking and harassment, systematically abusing every person who tried to shelter him, and being repeatedly tricked into exposing himself online by people pretending to represent record labels. Oh, and he's also sent inappropriate messages to multiple people. I say inappropriate instead of being specific so this video doesn't get black holed, but it's about as bad as you can imagine for the LCP allegations. In the last last episode of Daniel's Horror Cow Odyssey, in late 2022, he terrorizes, gaslights, and assaults his lifelong mentor and greatest benefactor, Bob Proctor, who then calls the police on him. After coming to the realization that the hard edges of criminal law might not be the most appropriate structure to deal with Daniel's erratic behaviors, Bob displays saint-like patience by giving Daniel one last saving grace, a ticket to California, where 5150 laws meant that Daniel might finally be institutionalized for his condition and behavior. Unfortunately, Bob wasn't counting on Daniel's ability to undo the efforts of others to help him, so the very next time there's a sighting of Larson in the wild, he's at a strip club. I can't imagine he's having much fun there, considering the dancers aren't 14-year-old Disney actresses, but this lack of regard for Bob and his wishes were so grievous that even OX, one of the few people going out of their way to manage and keep tabs on Daniel, gave up on him for the time, deciding he was unworthy of help and simply shouldn't have any kind of access to social media. Considering the benevolence of a few people managing his online presence was the only thing keeping the followers of the story up to date on his whereabouts, after the management gave up on him, his future grew increasingly uncertain. All we know was that Daniel was roaming the streets of California and had developed a condition called trench foot, which I thought was an esoteric disease from World War I, but apparently many homeless people end up getting it from walking around in soggy shoes for way too long. Either way, his living situation was not good, and it wasn't about to improve. Almost 2 years prior, a man named Joshua Block, known online as World of T-Shirts, who I covered in a previous video, announced he was very fond of Daniel's art and decided to work with him.
I'm signing with Daniel Larson Records. We're partnering up to make a new song. Stay tuned for further updates.
For context, Josh is in a similar position, only a lot better since he lacks the trademark belligerence that got Daniel into the position he's in. Around 2020, Josh became quite famous on TikTok for his likable, if a little strange, personality, and to this day he regularly pulls in hundreds of thousands of views in videos of him doing mundane things. Daniel was initially very psyched about this cosign, even shouting Joshua out in his own unique way.
This message is to World of T-Shirts in New York.
Since Josh had a significantly larger online presence, it meant Daniel was on the brink of fulfilling his fantasies of being famous. However, just a little while later, Josh recanted his offer to do business with Daniel after finding out about his extensive history with minors.
So I canceled the record deal with Daniel Larson Records. I didn't sign anything I was gonna sign, but then I found out about his past, and I had to cancel on him. If you encounter him, or he tries to offer you a record deal or anything, avoid him at all costs. We gotta cancel him.
This deeply angered Daniel, who went on to sporadically rant and rave about Josh over the course of the next year and a half. Mostly, the beef between them was dormant and one-sided, as Joshua's only mention of it for a while was in one video on a secondary account in which he says he's not associated with or endorsed by Daniel. This changed in November 2022, when Josh posted a video to his main account challenging Daniel to a boxing match in Times Square while displaying some unusually zesty shadow boxing. The video quickly got a lot of traction and now sits at over 1 million views and over 100,000 likes. This set Dan on edge again, and he began making threats against him.
To Joshua, World of T-Shirts, I still am waiting for the boxing match. We'll have that in 2023.
Additionally, he promised to make Joshua bankrupt while singing Empire State of Mind again.
What dreams are made of, there's nothing I can't do. I will make Joshua Block go bankrupt. Yes, he will go bankrupt.
While the reasons for their conflict might seem obvious at first glance, they're a bit more complicated than they may appear. There were trolls instigating it by convincing Daniel that Josh was saying things about him, but perhaps more importantly, there was a specific person working behind the scenes to pit them against each other. Michael Quinn, the manager of Joshua Block. While his original TikTok account has been terminated and the archives of his content are mostly dated after the original interactions between Josh and Daniel, we know that Michael Quinn is hated by Josh's community and seen as the de facto main antagonist, blatantly manipulating and directly feeding Joshua things to say, often pushing him to aggressively engage with random people online in order to get more attention to the content.
I'm the only one that takes care of Josh. No one else does. The only one that cares for Josh is me, Michael Quinn. No one else. No one else. Tell him.
No one else. Michael Quinn is my mentor.
Whenever he's seen, he's bragging about being a multi-millionaire and the only person who cares for Josh, both of which are highly dubious claims at best. His claims of being wealthy do hold some weight though, considering he's the founder and owner of Feltman's Hot Dogs, which at least used to be a pretty successful company considering he got a segment during an NBC regional news show. However, not only is there another person who also owns Feltman's, meaning they probably split the revenue, but it's also very unlikely the company is making that much considering how competitive the fast food market is in New York. It's worth noting that when Michael says he's a multi-millionaire, he doesn't mean 2 or 3, but specifically $200 million, which is pretty crazy, and if he is that wealthy, why is he spending time with Joshua Block all day? While it's unsure how much money he's actually made, it's very hard to imagine there's any motive behind his involvement with Josh besides it being a profitable grift. I wasn't able to find properly archived versions of these particular videos, but according to the Know Your Meme article that documented this particular spat, the same day Josh challenged Daniel to a boxing match, Quinn posted on his TikTok account addressing Daniel directly and threatening him. After this interaction, Michael went on to make a plethora of other videos and TikToks provoking him, which heavily suggested that Joshua's attacks on Daniel were his idea in the first place. This may seem gratuitous at first, until you find out what happened next. Unlike a lot of instances of Daniel making threats of violence online and in real life, and no one doing anything about it, on January 1st, 2023, he was actually served with court papers. Joshua was suing Daniel for $550,000 for harassment and threats of violence, which are deemed credible threats due to Daniel's extensive criminal record and history of violence. Although I should say I kind of misspoke when I said Daniel was served with court papers because he had no address to get the letter of intent, and thus it took him a couple of days to even find out he was being sued. In all likelihood, once Michael figured out that the boxing match had no chance of happening, he settled for the next best way to capitalize on this back and forth, which was to sue Daniel, knowing he had a rap sheet, no real recourse, and would ultimately end up relying on the legal aid of a public defender. That is, if he even agreed to one and didn't try to be his own lawyer, which is something Daniel eventually did, but we'll get to that later. It's entirely possible that this was the plan to begin with. Michael, knowing Daniel was incapable of holding his tongue or controlling his violent urges, baited him with the unwitting help of trolls into saying something he could start a lawsuit over. Daniel pays it no mind though, which is understandable given his circumstances demanded a lot more immediate attention than the self-evidently absurd notion of paying over $500,000 to Josh. On the 4th of January, he autographed a picture of himself for a fan of his named Mark.
His signature, I asked him to sign it to Mark, and technically he did that. I ain't even mad.
During the same day as he was live streaming, he made the mistake of showing the restaurant he was entering before closing the stream. The ever-vigilant trolls figured out what the restaurant was and called it up, claiming that Daniel was going to go there nude. The employees actually gave this call some credence, since just by looking at now homeless Daniel Larson, you can see he might be the kind of person that's deranged enough to do such a thing. They decide to play it safe and ask Daniel to leave the restaurant to prevent anything like that from happening. As an employee is trying to persuade him to leave the premises, he begins live streaming again, threatening to call the police and accusing them of defamation. He was probably not going to go nude, but it's a virtual certainty he was planning on dining and dashing from the establishment, so ultimately, it's probably a good thing that the police were contacted. Unexplainably, right before conceding and leaving the restaurant, Daniel turns around and says this.
Just to let you guys know, I'm a lawyer.
But not everything is bad news. On the same day, he hits the milestone of 7,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. He about to make it out the hood with this one. He about to buy a Bugatti. Over the course of the next few days, Daniel begins revealing the consequences of Ox's departure, saying that his TikTok and YouTube accounts are either inaccessible or terminated. It's no biggie though, as he just makes new accounts and continues his constant frantically posting every moment of his life. On the 6th of January, he gets a trespass notice from a security guard in another restaurant, which according to the trolls following his activities was Gladstone's at Malibu, miles above Daniel's pay grade by the way. He for sure was going to dine and dash this one. After this incident, there's a 10-day long period of peace during which nothing of relevance takes place, with perhaps the exception of him taking part in a Discord voice chat in which he gives his opinion on the age of consent.
Do you think that the age of consent can be 15 with family permission?
Yes. Whatever you say, Mr. President.
But you know how it is with Daniel. On the 16th, we get screenshots of his conversation with a troll pretending to be Grace. You know, after a while, Chris Chan figured out he couldn't trust anyone online because of how many trolls there were. But Daniel never quite took the hint. In these screenshots, Dan says, Grace, I need to be honest and tell you something. I want to be serious about this, and I need to explain. I need help, and I don't know what to do. I'm being honest. I was abused at a young age. The troll in question didn't empathize with his appeal to childhood trauma, as the context of the conversation was his altercation with Bob, in which Daniel hit him and then hit himself to pretend Bob was attacking him. Over the next few days, the trolls bring up Danderson's attempt at sexting the singer Darcy Lynn when she was underage. He first tries to defend himself from the accusations of beating Bob, trying to say that they both messed up and that he takes accountability, though it's unlikely he even understands what that word means. The cherry on top of this particular exchange is when Daniel says, "The trolls tried to make me sexually attracted to you as a child." The Grace troll is attentive enough to point out that Daniel keeps referring to the evidence of him being a creep as mere accusations, but it doesn't faze Daniel, who just continues his rambling, saying, "It hurts my soul and heart. I would admit that I am a pet to fix everything and get us heard, but it might risk everything I care about. I want you, Grace. I can't lose that. The impersonator ran all of my social media accounts, so if I didn't listen to them, they would put my entire career at risk." Given his trenchfoot situation, I'm sure his soul is in a lot of pain. That response, however, is par for the course Larsonian schizobabble, but the troll picked up on his offering to confess to his crimes in exchange for being in a relationship with Grace and asking to put his money where his mouth was, and so he did. I need to come clean. I need to tell the fans. Grace, I admit, I am a PDF file. If this wasn't sufficient, he followed these messages to who he thought was Grace with a special dedicated video.
Bob, it's time for me to come clean. I admit that I am a pedophile, and I admit that yes, I hit Bob. The reason being, growing up, I didn't have anybody that really cared for me. I didn't have anybody that supported me. And, I got badly trolled, and it turned me into what I turned out to be, and I'm trying to change. I need help.
In his eyes, he hit Bob because no one cared about him in his childhood, and he became a P-word because he was badly trolled. This is a good time to remind you that his Pinterest boards full of pictures of little girls were created long before any troll knew of Daniel's existence. On the same day, he supposedly uploaded a fake movie trailer to his channel, as he was under the impression he'd been speaking to Netflix executives on Discord, but of course, they were just trolls. I guess this false hope of working with Netflix being crushed really got to him, as on the morning of the 17th, his TikTok account was flooded with videos of him crying over the course of roughly 2 hours. Calling what he's doing in these videos crying is pretty generous, considering he's less crying and more making crying faces and borderline yawning for most of them. It's very interesting to see Daniel doing his best to put on the melancholy act, with the sad songs playing in the background and all of that. There are 2 unexplainable videos among these, one in which he brags about being famous, followed immediately by him in the darkness listening to Corpse Husband, of all things. Immediately after posting them, he gets on a live stream and starts begging for donos, which makes it quite clear what the point of the video was. In the archived bits of this stream, he sulks about being $90 in debt after an overdraft fee, while you can literally hear him standing in line at Disneyland. Once he gets inside, the sad act completely vanishes, and I guess the excitement gets the best of him as he starts explicitly saying he wants money to get on the Tom Sawyer ride. Apparently, 2 Larson followers were responsible for getting him into Disneyland and are heard accompanying him during the stream while he's talking about investing $1 into Disney stock and holding it for a year before he sells his share. I'm no expert, but I'm pretty sure a share of Disney costs more than $1. His visit to Disneyland goes by without any incident, and thank God for that. But just a day later, we're going to the usually scheduled programming, as Daniel has officially contracted scabies. In 3 posts to his YouTube community, he says, "I'm going to the hospital. I got an STI somehow. My rash has gotten bigger." On the same day, he posts a video explaining what the doctors diagnosed him with, and in case you don't know what scabies is, I guess I should put a trigger warning here because I bet some people are phobic of this one. Basically, it's a condition that happens when you have bugs literally burrowed into your skin, causing itchy rashes all over your body. A day later, he goes to the Cheesecake Factory and posts a nice selfie with the meal he's about to consume. Of course, like with pretty much all of his meals, he didn't have any money, so as soon as the check came, he began begging on his TikTok for someone to pay for it.
Alright, so I'm going to need about $80 before midnight to be able to get the dinner paid for, and then for me to get to the train back to downtown Los Angeles. Alright, this is an emergency. The trolls have found my location, and they're calling the restaurant, so the restaurant won't let me leave now.
This time, I think nobody called the restaurant. Daniel just got in trouble for not paying and was trying to evade blame. Soon after, he begins hounding his followers to get him $100 within 2 minutes, or he'll be getting charges pressed against him, saying the police have already arrived. He makes more posts to his community page showing the QR code for his bill, expecting someone will pay it for him. But after failing to pay, he finally gets arrested for dining and dashing after having done so multiple times with with no consequences. For a second, it looked as if the Larsonian plot armor was losing its power. However, he gets released immediately after it, probably when the cops realize the extent of Daniel's issues. Even after being arrested, Daniel refuses to play it safe, as the very next day he drops these bangers.
Sandy Hook was false, and Alex Jones was a good man. Sandy Hook is a hoax, and the kids are in hell.
Concurrently, he relays to his audience that he's been banned from yet another restaurant, this time before he even got to order and eat anything. This is most likely due to all the restaurants in the area getting tipped by police that Daniel is a serial dine and dasher who should be turned away upon arrival. But Daniel tries to paint himself as the victim, complaining that they didn't believe him that he couldn't charge his phone anymore. Strangely enough, in every other video he posted about this, it seems he accidentally used a TikTok audio from a girl talking about reading comments and gave himself long eyelashes with a filter. Looks good on him, to be honest. I think it's a very suitable look. In the videos he made after his arrest, he doesn't mention dining and dashing at all, saying instead that the restaurant got slammed and that 2 of his fans are responsible for causing issues. He also reveals the meal did eventually get paid for by another one of his fans, who happened to be a lawyer, according to him. Regardless, the charge he got, defrauding an innkeeper, would cost him $950 in fines. He alleges that the innkeeper was a hater and was mad that the restaurant was getting too many calls. It's very funny how good Daniel is at emulating how celebrities speak, yet he's completely unable to even acknowledge the fact that the primary reason he got in trouble was for not paying for his food, not because the innkeeper was a hater. Daniel also got upset that the people at the restaurant and the cops were going through his social media, saying it was unprofessional of them. In his community posts, which are hard to come by since the YouTube account they were on is now gone, he reveals he's been kicked out of a Target and explains he's trying to get in contact with the company responsible for his housing, saying he'll soon be moving into a new place. The rest of January is void of any significant happenings. The calm before the storm, if you will, or, considering that we're talking about Daniel, the roaring thunder. February begins with him confessing that the Pinterest the trolls found that had hundreds of pictures of little kids in folders was indeed his. However, as much as it's a confession, it's not quite an admission of guilt, as you can see.
Yes, the Pinterest was mine. And yes, I actually followed all of those pictures and stuff of, like, children. I did that at the time because I needed to get everything heard with the abuse that was going on in the disability system. Like, I was actually being, like, hit by the providers, and I did need to make that public. I knew it wasn't going to go viral. I knew I couldn't get help, so I had to do something to be able to save myself, and I didn't know how. So I made the Pinterest.
So he made a Pinterest account with that stuff in it and advertised it to absolutely no one so that he could get attention to his supposedly being abused at whatever care center he was at the time. Sounds believable. A general rule for Daniel Larson's online activity is that whenever he starts preemptively making defensive statements about something he's been accused of, most likely it's because he knows he's about to get exposed for it. Case in point, within 24 hours, he made a post to his YouTube community claiming that he'd found another Grace Vanderwall impersonator, showing his conversation with this troll on Discord. However, he only shows the last few messages. Soon after this, the rest of his exchanges get revealed to the public, and it's the stuff of nightmares. The prints begin with Daniel saying Grace looks like she could milk, and after specifically choosing an underage picture of her to send, Daniel says he has a liking to, let's keep calling it milk for monetization purposes, and piss. Then asks if she feels like her groin is getting pulled out, punctuating these messages with, like a cow, moo. He also often pontificated about how certain things would smell, and I'm struggling to believe this is a real person at this point. It seems like he believes stimulating the bladder plays some role in the reproductive act and keeps using the word ache to describe what the person in question would feel during it. As much as it's disturbing, it's also just confusing. After all this back and forth, Daniel says he feels like his relationship with Grace is like Romeo and Juliet. If this were the case, instead of it ending with the couple drinking poison, it'd be everyone else doing it, so they wouldn't have to witness Daniel's stuff anymore. The 4th of February is a very busy day for Daniel. For whatever reason, he decides to put all of his belongings into a bag and start a stream, threatening to throw the bag off of a cliff. Except when he does throw it, it audibly immediately hits the ground. Upon geolocating where he was during the recording, it's obviously not a cliff, meaning he immediately retrieved the bag as soon as the stream ended. Just 2 2 days later, the bag comes back into play as Daniel addresses the images that had been circling his name, where social media accounts representing entities like the LAPD were claiming Daniel's bag contained an IED and an unspecified firearm. How and why exactly these came about is mostly unknown, but based on what we can see in Daniel's video addressing it, someone did convince the police to pay a visit to him while he was at a restaurant. He describes it as a raid involving multiple cop cars, but knowing Daniel, that's probably an exaggeration. The next meaningful activity happens on the 10th when he went live with his new management, meeting a new group of trolls who worked their way into his circle of trust. First, they seem to be your regular run-of-the-mill guys, getting Daniel to say goofy things, such as what he would do at a BLM rally.
What would you do at a Black Lives Matter rally, Daniel?
I mean, run for my life.
However, his streaming with the trolls was a grave mistake, as it allowed the people watching the stream to figure out that for the past few days, he'd been sleeping in the Planet Fitness bathroom. Without skipping a beat, they figured out which particular Planet Fitness he was squatting at and alerted them to his whereabouts. An altercation between Daniel, an employee, and a client ensued, with Daniel refusing to leave.
You need to leave. I told you to leave the men's restroom.
I literally have to kick you out. You have to go.
Don't even call me that. You called me a f***er, okay? You called me a coward. Well, what's your name?
You don't even know my name. Let's go.
Yes, because I'm gonna file reports for calling me like names and.
While there's more than enough footage showing how irate Daniel becomes when called things such as a coward and yellow belly, video of him conceding and leaving the gym is noticeably absent. Maybe this is because he purposely didn't record himself leaving because he felt it was embarrassing, or maybe he did and we just don't have the footage for whatever reason. Either way, this incident is immediately followed up by this bombastic little statement.
Since I've now been kicked out of 35 different Planet Fitnesses, I am now declaring war. You'll be blown up soon.
First off, 35 different Planet Fitnesses. I'm assuming he got banned from all of the other 34 for the same reasons, which means not only is he a serial dine and dasher, but also a squatter. Secondly, can you even say things like that, legally speaking? I know that the First Amendment covers a lot of stuff, but threatening to bomb establishments? Not so sure about that. It's been said that on the same day he got kicked out of an unspecified shopping center, but I haven't been able to find info on that. Though, if the Planet Fitness he got banned from was in a shopping center, these bans are probably related. On the 13th, he gets on a bus to Las Vegas, somehow, which mystifies me, considering he has no money. His managers and sporadic sympathizers must be sending him money through the thousands of Cash App accounts he has. A day later, he finds himself in an almost identical situation as the Planet Fitness incident, but this time it went a little differently. Instead of a friendly neighborhood Planet Fitness, Daniel tried to squat in the bathroom of a casino in Vegas, and the security guards weren't half as patient or willing to argue with a clearly disheveled and homeless Danderson. At around 2 a.m., once he had already been successfully ousted from the place by two gentlemen who reacted to his insanity in the appropriate manner, he did what he does best: play the victim.
Walk. I was just trying to walk. I was just trying to use the goddamn password. Walk. Just walk. I will myself.
This is yet another instance of Daniel going on the record, threatening to do something drastic when he doesn't get his way. You gotta wonder how many times he's already pulled this routine on his caretakers and Bob when there was no one watching. Later on, he begins heavily zooming into a small, bloody bruise on his finger to highlight how brutal the security was with him, and if that wasn't enough, he accuses them of sexual harassment.
The f***ing security at that motel right across the street sexually tried to harass me.
The person he's talking to while he makes these accusations is a park guard who proceeds to realize that Daniel is some kind of insane bum and tells him the area is closed and that he needs to leave, which Daniel fails to do as he's caught up in this nonsensical ranting and raving. According to the Larsonian lore, either this same day or in a very close window of time, some follower of his paid for a hotel room for him to stay through the night, and Daniel tried to talk a drunk couple into paying for another hotel room after picking up the coins that fell out of the woman's purse, to no avail. Apparently, after his casino incident, Daniel has been banned from all MGM casinos and has his biometric info in their database as per a Reddit user who happened to work graveyard shifts at a casino. Another addition to this never-ending cascade of negative events surrounding Daniel is that apparently his eyesight is decaying and fast. As of now, he has to squint to be able to see clearly. Within a day, he tries his hand at sleeping at yet another casino, but this time he gets caught much quicker and is swiftly dealt with.
You are trespassed. You can never come back here again.
For literally just sitting here and watching the game.
For sleeping 3 times, that's why.
I wasn't
Are you
sleeping
gonna leave?
though.
I wasn't sleeping.
Are you
though.
going to leave or are you going to be arrested?
I will. But
Okay.
I'm just trying to get my message across. I was not sleeping. I was watching the game. Just because I closed my eyes for like a second.
Look, no more conversations. Walk out the door.
Yeah, but you guys want us to spread lies about me.
No, we're not spreading anything. We're not going to even have a conversation anymore. All you got to do is leave the building.
Why am I being trespassed?
We already said it a million times.
Let's go.
All right, then I'll leave. You guys are like lying about everything.
After all of this ruckus, Daniel claims he will be doing a 2-hour live stream, which never came to fruition, as for a brief period, Daniel actually went missing in action. People immediately started worrying, fearing he would go the way of Terry Davis while unsupervised by his online troll handlers. It's kind of ironic because, on one hand, the trolls are the cause of all of his misery. They constantly mock him, bait him into saying horrible things, and they love watching the horrible behavior. But at the same time, these are the only people watching over him, keeping track of his location, seeing what he's doing. On the 15th, a post was made to the Las Vegas subreddit showing Daniel as a missing person. Someone replied to the post saying, "I left for work yesterday at about 7 a.m., so there was practically no one on the strip. Saw the ambulance in front of Crack Shack, and they were lifting someone onto a gurney over the small barrier and up into the ambulance. They looked annoyed, and I wondered why they were even taking this person away because he just looked like a standard homeless person to me." You could tell the guy was mouthing off. The hair and face in the post immediately caught my eye. It was the guy being put in the ambulance. Daniel's subreddit erupted in concern, and along with it, there were many claimed sightings, but nothing really concrete. One of the few pieces of footage of someone claiming they saw Daniel in the wild came from a TikTok user named Trudy Parker1, who posted this video and adamantly maintained that the person walking away was Daniel. And yeah, it does really look like him. And to further support this is the fact that he was roaming in the vicinity of a cheesecake factory, one of his natural habitats at this point. However, this sighting happened on the 16th, and for the next 5 days, no one had any news from Daniel. Some began to believe he'd broken his phone, which would be a death sentence, as despite many people occasionally paying for his food and transportation, a phone was a tad more expensive than what his following was comfortable with subsidizing. On the 22nd, Daniel was seen once again, this time completely bald and erratically skulking on the side of the road. According to the person who shared this clip, Daniel had just been kicked out of a bus for refusing to pay the fare, was wearing the same clothes he'd been wearing for the previous 8 days, and apparently still had his phone, but it was either dead or broken. A day went by, and during the afternoon of the 23rd, Daniel resurfaced triumphantly on a new TikTok account, Daniel Larson LV, for Las Vegas. In his comeback video, he says 2 fans of his approached him while he was at a casino and got him some food. Once they had his trust and his defenses were down, one of them took a swing at Daniel from behind, knocked him down, and stole his phone, allegedly fracturing his skull so bad it would take up to half a year to heal. While it's assumed that he's lying about parts of this story, such as fans of his being responsible for it, it also seems like he's not entirely lying. Some people on Reddit had said they saw him getting into an ambulance, which would fit his story of having gone to the hospital to get his skull checked. In his downtime, probably due to the hospital noticing Daniel was mentally challenged and homeless, Daniel secured almost $400 in monthly food stamps and housing from a company called Sober Homes. As soon as Daniel's eyes once again met with the hypnotic blue light of a smartphone screen, the veil of delusion swept him up from his grimy reality and back into his fantasies. Suddenly, his story about being robbed turned into being attacked by Grace Vanderwall's ex-boyfriend, who was mad at him for having stolen her heart. The next few days were peaceful, with a few videos that were uploaded being mundane things, such as him waiting for a tram and attending a free concert. However, on the 27th, he once again became homeless because apparently Sober Homes, or Sober Homies as Daniel prefers to say, was expecting him to pay rent, which is obviously very unfair.
Okay, everyone, I have terrible news. So, Sober Homies did kick me out of their service. I did not have enough money to pay for the rent.
His TikTok account from this period is now gone, and consequently the videos aren't exactly easy to find. What has been documented in text form is that during his Sober Homies exile, Daniel posted about 50 videos spanning multiple topics. In these, he claimed he was now trying to contact housing companies in California and Colorado, and that unfortunately, this would prevent him from having a girlfriend or a job. Not that he could get either in the first place, as he immediately follows this up by saying that the places he applies to for a job are blackmailing him, which I take he actually meant as blackballing, and they won't hire him due to his reputation. He also explains that he made $30,000 off of donations in the past year, which would get him in trouble with the disability services, but he doesn't care too much about that. Not only did he expect to continue being homeless for the months to come, but he also said that believing that he isn't disabled has actually improved him mentally. In his addled state, Daniel randomly pivots to Bob and starts lying about being on a phone call with him, claiming that Bob apologized and told Daniel that the state needs to get him housing or he'll buy a gun. It's always when there's an inkling of pity for for Daniel that he says things like that. I'm willing to bet that the only reason he hasn't assaulted more people is because on some level, he knows he wouldn't get away with it. After all, he felt comfortable attacking Bob, a senior citizen. If Daniel ever got his hands on a gun, God forbid, there's a very decent chance he'll end up taking someone's life. After posting a video indicating he's once again being tricked into thinking he's talking to Grace, he eats a meal at Dave & Buster's, which he obviously can't pay for, and so he dine and dashes, which gets him kicked out from not only the restaurant, but also the entire mall. In the videos following, it becomes clearer why he started talking about Bob again. The trolls are simultaneously pretending to be Bob and Grace.
This is crazy. Why am I getting a message that Grace Vanderwall is in downtown Las Vegas right now trying to find me? Bob literally just ignored me when I called him and said, ask Grace for security. Grace Vanderwall, I need your help. Message me immediately. I'm in danger.
Once again, he began asking people online to pay for his meal, but I guess he felt embarrassed about it, so he lied about having $200 in his Cash App, and the only reason he couldn't pay for his meal was that his debit card randomly got locked. He didn't keep this particular charade going for very long, as shortly after, he admits to only having $10 in his bank, and asks for $30 so the restaurant doesn't call the cops on him. In the last post in this series, he's frantically saying he needs Grace's help and is in danger, and we can see the reason for his desperation. The fog is back, and has slowly begun to consume his frontal camera again. On the 28th, he gets in trouble in yet another establishment, but this time in an even funnier way. It seems that he'd been sleeping in the bathroom of a bar for an unspecified amount of time, and he didn't get thrown out, but instead got the equivalent of a soft block. In the video he posted about it, he was complaining that upon leaving his improvised crypt in the bar's bathroom, he was ordering things, and the employees were leading him on as if his orders were being prepared, while they evidently weren't. Daniel, of course, was fuming about this, not only because he didn't get to eat for free, but they also refused to aggressively throw him out, which would then give him the opportunity to play the victim again. They simply called the cops on him, and when they asked them why, they said they didn't know. A genius move on their part. He also seems to be developing some kind of paranoid disorder, as he seems to believe 2 of the employees have been following him around, but it's not really certain what he meant by that. Archives of this day become even more scant, not only because the account was deleted, but during that time he temporarily had his account privated due to his new phone number leaking, which limited the number of people getting to see what he uploaded. According to vigilant Larsonians, he showed his bank balance at negative $200, meaning he had pretty aggressively overdrafted. After denying claims that he'd gotten some TikTok celebrity pregnant, he went live, which we do have footage of. It appears that Daniel was under the impression that Grace and her team would join the stream due to the messages he received, but of course they didn't, and just like that, February ended. On the 1st of March, his TikTok account goes back to being public and is promptly flooded with videos of the nasty scabs all over his body from the scabies. Considering he frequently invades and squats at Planet Fitness, where I know for a fact there has to be like one shower in many of them, if not most of them, why doesn't he just use them and take care of it? After his last doctor visit over his scabies, he was told by the doctor specifically to get new clothes, and though he asked for and got donations to buy new clothes, he kept wearing the same old clothing as always. Another notable thing about the scab videos is that they're recorded in yet another casino, meaning he's not playing it very safe. Next up is a series of rabid TikTok posts in which he talks about Bob again. Initially, he starts railing against Bob for supposedly not helping him with something that Daniel needed in order to secure housing.
This message is for Bob, not contacting the diversion program when they wanted him to be able to help with the housing and court stuff.
It gets pretty confusing to understand what's going on, but from my understanding, it seems that Daniel fell for yet another impersonator and has been talking to them instead of the real Bob. He begins threatening he'll destroy Bob's reputation somehow, and also mentions Bob hasn't helped his career, but makes a caveat that Bob still occasionally helps with other things. In this case, I think Daniel is referring to the real Bob, who still supported Daniel financially in some areas. It's interesting to see that despite that, he still finds a way to complain about it and claim that Bob only helping him in some areas but not with his career just makes it worse. The next thing that happened will actually shock you.
Okay, this is an emergency, but I've lost contact with Bob, and Bob will not answer any of my phone calls. Okay, there's an emergency. Bob just fully blocked my number.
Well, there's a chance that he's just trying to call the impersonator. There's also a good chance that he said all of these things about Bob, who became rightfully upset and decided to block him. There's a brief unarchived portion wherein Daniel's paranoia resurfaces, as during another bout of dining and dashing, Daniel begins saying that the people sitting in a booth across from him in the restaurant have been talking about him non-stop for an hour. Things get more cryptic and possibly even dangerous when Daniel talks about a pink Easter Easter egg he's hiding at the restaurant. Soon after, we started getting clarifications from Daniel about his mysterious statements, as it seems he was planning to buy fireworks and ignite them inside of a casino.
Okay, folks, get ready for the biggest incident of all of Daniel Larson history so far. Let's do this. First of all, dynamite is not the same thing as a bomb threat. Okay, I'm going to go into a casino with a firework, and then I can see how real firing works.
This is one of the strangest Daniel Larson moments so far, don't get me wrong. He's obviously done worse than threatening to blow up a casino with fireworks. However, most of these worst things are done in the patent Larson way. First, he self-righteously does something he knows he's not supposed to do, and then puts on an act where he's now the victim. This time, and only this time, he went all out and embraced the role of a cartoon villain. He truly never ceases to amaze. Nothing happened, as you can imagine. He didn't get fireworks because he doesn't have money to buy them, besides one unarchived video in which Daniel claims to have flooded the toilets in one of these places. Because of his threats, his account got reported, and he made two new ones, Daniel Larson NYC and Love Daniel Larson Forever. It's kind of funny the way that a lot of these guys will name their accounts almost as if they're fan accounts. The day ends nonchalantly as Daniel plays pool for almost 25 minutes on his YouTube account. The next day wasn't as nice though, as people were mystified by the facts that despite the two new accounts having been freshly created, no videos were going up. Eventually, a post went up on his subreddit saying, as of right now, he is in custody of the LVMPD. He was confirmed arrested and trespassed from a casino last night. I verified this information with their security team and the LVMPD. Do not try to call or interact with anyone in regard to this. Let the professionals handle this. A few hours later, a couple of updates were made to the original post, saying he's likely not yet been charged or booked in any detention centers in Clark County. He was likely sent to a medical facility, but will be transferred to a jail afterward. We will likely know tomorrow. Daniel is not criminally charged and is being treated as a mental health patient, at least a 72-hour hold. For the next 12 days, Daniel is radio silent, as he'd been sent to a psych ward in which he had no access to his phone. Despite his lack of activity, the subreddit remained as active as ever, especially when YouTuber Kusari dropped a 2.5-hour documentary about him. Ox also resurfaced and spoke out to correct a few details on Daniel's lore. Within a day of the documentary being published, Daniel returned to his Daniel Larson NYC account and explained what had been going on behind the scenes.
Hello everyone, I am okay. I was in another attack. Because of the attack that happened 2 weeks ago, I am now lifetime banned from the Stratosphere Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas due to the attack. I got out today after 2.5 weeks from the mental health hospital in Las Vegas.
But no Larsonian activity is complete without a hefty side order of psychotic delusion.
When I was in the mental health hospital, they did the mathematics with my popularity and how much I should be making, and the psychiatric doctors in 2023 said that I should be making at least $5,000 a month.
On the 16th, he pulls a Peter Griffin and spends an inordinate amount of time reeling in after walking into something and hurting his leg.
Oh my god, I'm feeling popping in my leg.
Turns out this took place in the Tropicana Hotel, from which Daniel was kicked out as soon as an employee noticed he was charging his phone despite not being a guest there. Just let a brother charge his phone, okay? He's TikTok famous. Though we no longer can see the particular post I'm about to refer to, Daniel has become known for using a fake banking app to try and pull on people's heartstrings and beg for donations, an example of which was archived and shared a few months later. As you can see, there's an edit button right next to the checking account, and he has ludicrous things on the expenditures, such as a whopping $8.50 spent on energy and security. I'm bringing this up because after leaving the psych ward, Daniel was angling to scrounge up some money to leave Las Vegas. So he posted a screenshot of that fake banking app saying he was $755,597.58 in debt. I guess he took out a couple of mortgages while in the ward. On the 17th, he did a live stream, which we unfortunately don't have archived, in which he reads threats he received in the chat and begins sprinting while looking over his shoulder and licking up his runny nostrils. Must have been a sight to see. He blamed Michael Quinn for the attack and claimed he was now on an iPod Touch, announcing the next place he'd be traveling to is Phoenix, Arizona. In a community post, he specifies he'll only be there for a few hours, as his final aim is New Orleans, presumably to try and make it as a rapper, considering many of his posts during this brief period consist of Daniel freestyling.
Yeah, I'm the monkey, I'm the Sphinx, yeah, it stinks when I'm standing up here next to the Sphinx, but yeah, I am the king, you know my name, Thank you, Ariana Grande, for the $70 donation.
The next bus stop was at Tucson, Arizona, and throughout his community updates, he kept stressing the need for donations because without them, he'd be unable to complete the trip. It seems this was yet another minor scam for Daniel, as one of the next videos he uploaded to his TikTok was him eating some cookie dough, which he had apparently bought with the money donated to him. In a serendipitous turn of events, Daniel ran into a few followers of his while in Tucson. Besides someone who called the cops on him, prompting Daniel to declare full lockdown, the fans treated him well, took a selfie with him, which I was unable to find, and paid for dinner, as seen in a video he posted to his YouTube channel. Though in it, he claimed he treated himself to it after getting back his distribution. In a video, Daniel reveals that he was supposed to get on a bus that took him to Roswell, but ended up in El Paso by accident. Once he was there, he got the police called on him while he was in a restaurant. He spends basically the rest of the month traveling around Texas and trying to get back on track on his way to NYC. Supposedly, if there's any truth to his TikTok handle. On the 24th, he decides to start modeling and informs his audience of his financial situation.
I need to make $1,000 because I am behind $1,000 this month.
Later on, he starts getting paranoid again, saying there's been a white pickup following him the entire day.
My location is fully doxxed. My fans are doxing my location. I'm going to need donations for me to get an Uber out of the area. There's been a person in a white pickup truck following me around all day long.
Daniel's under the impression that this is a hitman out for his life. During this ordeal, he keeps talking about whether getting donations or convincing people in real life, such as Whataburger employees, to let him call for an emergency Uber. It's difficult to say to what degree Daniel was actually terrified for his life and how much of his panic was played up so he could get a means of transportation out of that place. But I think it's probably safe to say that the trolls definitely weren't helping his perceptions and paranoia during this time. Indeed, someone was following Daniel, but it seemed to be a follower of his. After he extensively LARPed about the Greyhound he was on being his private tour bus, someone calls Daniel up and has a nice chat with him.
Yeah. Why was that?
Because you have scabies and because you're and you like children.
That is not true.
The Pinterest account, Daniel, with all the little children.
Okay, so I had my all my social media accounts stolen from me, and I had to take it to court, and I won that case.
Whoa.
On the 29th, he gives a shout out to a very dear close friend of his.
Shout out to Jeffrey Epstein.
At the tail end of March, he uploaded this.
My fans need to stop trying to frame me. It's not okay.
According to his next upload, people called up local law enforcement and made a variety of threats, and because of this, Daniel had to be detained. In a comment, he revealed that the phone calls and threats also affected his dining experience, as he was supposedly followed into a restaurant. Well, it's very confusing to try and clear up what was actually happening since Daniel is a very unreliable narrator, and most of his videos aren't up anymore. It looks to be the usual Danderson gets kicked out for being unable to pay, or for being infested with scabies. Something we've all gone through, frankly. According to the date shown in the video itself, this took place on March 30th, while Daniel was in Houston.
Serious question that I do need to ask, okay?
Go ahead.
So, recently I gained a bunch of popularity over social media.
We don't have time for that.
Okay, but
can you leave?
Somebody has been doxing my okay. Phone into the police department that you guys are not cooperating. Call fucking dispatch. Call fucking dispatch.
We have to come back as criminal trespass.
Okay, you're putting me in physical danger. I told you that I was getting doxxed!
Around the same time period, he got banned from the Greyhound. He also keeps accusing his followers of doxing his location when he is the one self-doxing repeatedly.
Okay, so the fans fully breached my location, and the manager is kicking me out due to fans showing up and calling. So I have to leave.
Him being banned from the bus may or may not be due to this conspiracy from the posters on his subreddit to call the bus company and pretend to be passengers annoyed by his antics. Before the month ended, he looked to be running around in a park, having his paranoid delusions triggered by threatening text messages he'd been getting on his phone.
I am going to... Okay, I'm getting actual threats. I'm after you. Here I come. I'm going to tackle you. And I see absolutely no one around me. I am getting, like, tickle monster, weird, really, really weird messages. Something about, like, a tickle monster and all this weird shit. I'm going to you? Wow. Excuse me. I am getting death threats from a guy that is following me around. Can I, okay.
On the 1st of April, he sets up a Discord to talk to his fans, and the conversation organically turned into a Q&A. While his account doesn't last long before being hacked or taken over by the people managing him at the time, he relays some very important information to them, such as the fact that he's planning to get a sandwich after receiving $48 in donations. More importantly, the fans discover that since Daniel can no longer get on buses, his management got him a plane ticket to the East Coast. On the 3rd of April, he boards the flight with no issues, which is surprising considering his proclivities to talk about blowing places up. He was even nice enough to provide some selfies for his management on Discord. It seems that making threats and being generally belligerent is like Daniel's Tourette's tick, and because he was aware enough to know he was under the scrutiny of airport security, who would absolutely not put up with it, he held it in. The thing about holding it in, though, is that you eventually have to let it all out, which he did immediately upon landing.
Okay, stop leaking my number. I don't give a what my fans think. Stop leaking my number. This is not funny. I am pressing charges. I will f***ing destroy my entire career and end up behind bars for life today if you guys do not stop leaking my phone number. These f***ing trolls leaking my number, calling me, getting Bob and me on arguments over phone calls is driving me f***ing insane. They need to f***ing stop before somebody gets killed.
This may seem like a typical episode from Mr. President, but things escalate quickly.
Somebody at the airport tried to get me to get in their car. I refused, and I punched the guy in the nose. I punched the guy actually in his nose.
Unfortunately for Daniel, he let loose a bit too early, and the employees were being alerted to things he was saying online.
The airport security did see me. This is a problem. They are thinking that I am currently being suspicious, with me being on video and panicking. Oh my hell.
For the sake of clarity, this meltdown is taking place on a train to New York, as Daniel's flight took him to Newark, New Jersey, and then a follower of his drove him to Jersey City so he could take the train, though he occasionally misspeaks and claims he's in New York already.
Daniel Larson is in New York!
In these circumstances Dan currently finds himself in, you'd think some amount of reality would be able to seep in, or at the very least that he would stop broadcasting his live reaction to being under the suspicion of airport security. But ladies and gentlemen, Daniel Larson is simply built different, and frankly he's built better than the rest of us.
Okay, the fans want me to go to a particular location. They're trying to plan an assassination attempt. I need security. I need help ASAP. This is serious. I'm under attack. Stop. You guys are scaring me. Stop.
The next day would prove equally intense for Daniel. A video clip that seems to have been recorded without his knowledge shows him in what looks like some kind of diner. I presume a couple of his followers approached him and offered to pay for a meal in exchange for having a convo. This was the result.
So I made the Pinterest as a way to go viral at that time.
Of course, it's a smart way, right?
Yeah, and then I told the fans that, like...
You know, it was Flex Burger, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And not Flex Burger, but you know what I mean. I threw it off.
It was a bunch of them. It was a lot of them.
But then when it went viral, it did actually get hacked. So that is the truth.
I guess this is as fitting a time as ever to go over Daniel's Quora account, which was unearthed in the same month. Now I will say that given that these accounts were created after Daniel was already somewhat of a known entity, they could have been done by trolls. In one of these accounts, he repeatedly asks questions like, do you feel like you need to pee when you get your vagina eaten out? And what was your first time getting Cummings as a child like? In another account, similar questions are asked, but this time with the names like Jojo Siwa, Darcy Lynn, and Grace Vanderwall attached to them. If you haven't watched the first video, these are girls Daniel has been obsessing over for years, with particular emphasis on pictures of them when they were very much, you know, very young. Again, when making videos on people like these, a lot of things can be in good fun, but there's always a chance that guys like Daniel might, at any moment, actually victimize someone. As far as I'm concerned, this is very good grounds to have him under permanent supervision until, you know, the day he dies, basically. Back to the happenings of April 5th. After his encounter with the fan who asked him about the Pinterest account, a user on TikTok with the name Zoc Monkey posted a video where Daniel can be seen behaving erratically in a bodega.
Daniel.
I've asked you to leave.
Daniel.
I've asked you to leave. We're on the phone with the police.
Daniel.
I've asked you to
Come on,
leave.
Daniel. You know me.
No, I don't.
Yeah, you do. We're
No, I
friends.
don't. I'm on the phone with my security.
We're smoking crack or tweak?
No, I'm not.
While this IRL encounter was happening, Daniel was on a call with some people he considered his managers, and we have a recording of that call.
I've already punched the security guard.
You already punched him?
Yeah, I did. Because he put hands on me. And I told him that I'm a celebrity and you're clearly putting me in danger by doing this. You guys should, at least understand that, I don't know these people. I'm trying to call the police, and you guys are not listening.
If Daniel is to be believed here, he'd already assaulted a security guard for trying to make him leave the bodega. However, things escalate quite quickly, due not only to Daniel's inability to respect the authority of the employee telling him to leave, and to the people on the Discord call with him egging him on to act out.
This product is not police need to walk out right now.
Yes, the police are on their way.
You wait for the police outside. Let's go.
I'm not going to do that. Because the police told me to wait here. I have you on film. I have you on film.
Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out.
I have you on film. I have you on film. No! No! Because you hit me! You hit me in there!
You're gonna get arrested.
There's a brief moment after this where Daniel goes silent, presumably because he accidentally turned his phone off or something. Soon after, he informs the other people on the call of what happened.
I'm injured. The guy, he tackled me to the ground. I had to hit him for protection.
In the immediate aftermath of this scuffle, Daniel sends this voicemail to someone, calling them a racial slur.
I'm not desperate. You guys should take that seriously.
Wait, he's cool now. For whatever reason, he was under the impression the bodega was a block away from Grace's house. The posting resumes once he's in the hospital.
This is what I look like after I got assaulted by 2 fans in New York City.
While he says the attack came from his fans, according to Zoc, they'd already left the bodega a few minutes prior due to being yelled at by the same employee who ended up tackling Daniel. On April 6th, as Daniel reeled in from the fight, one of the Grace impersonators in contact with him told him that she was in Kansas, prompting Daniel to publicly consider leaving New York just a few days after getting there. However, fate would simply not have it. Everyone following Daniel knew of his history with Josh, who was notorious for being from New York. So it was really a match made in heaven. I mean, the two were supposed to meet. It was fate. The flames between them were fanned by the followers once again, and eventually this culminated in Josh officially re-entering the Larson-verse to celebrate Daniel's defeat and claim New York City supremacy.
I made it in New York. I can make it anywhere. Unlike Daniel, he made it 10 hours and then he got punched in the nose here. He's not a New Yorker. I'm a New Yorker. I'm the captain of the ship. I run New York!
Because of the provocations, Daniel became very aggravated and responded to them at length, though I haven't been able to find many of these posts since Daniel was banned almost immediately after. The reason for the ban is quite obvious. Dan was constantly threatening their lives and saying he was going to shoot them. In a conversation he had on Discord with someone impersonating Taylor Swift, he straight up declares he was going to kill Michael Quinn. The last post he made to his TikTok before it got banned was this.
If I were World of T-shirts or anybody from past management involved in tonight, I would step down because I have a gun.
Within a day, he makes a new one, which has now also been banned, and starts posting on it. Behind the scenes, someone was fueling his hatred towards Michael Quinn and Joshua Block, claiming that one or both of them were Jewish and incentivizing Daniel to express anti-Semitic sentiments on his TikTok. Daniel embraced this and made a modeling TikTok with the audio being from a parody song by Rucka Rucka Ali, where he speaks from the point of view of, I'm gonna call him Zadolf Zindler for this video, but I think you guys know who I'm talking about. On the 8th of April, he apologizes profusely to multiple people.
This message is for Tyrone. Please stop. Listen, I f***ed up, and I'm sorry. This message is for Bob. I am sorry for hitting him. I'm sorry, Grace, for causing so much stress in your family and cheating on you.
2 days later, we can see not only that the bruise on his nose is in the same shape as Africa, but that Daniel has also been picking at it, which is quite dangerous considering how generally filthy he is and how easy it would be for him to contract a serious infection. Meanwhile, a new conspiracy is being hashed on a subreddit, one where multiple different users make posts claiming to have made fortunes off of selling merchandise based on Daniel's likeness, but without his approval. Others claim they're re-releasing his music without his consent, all without giving him a penny. As far as trolling schemes go, this one is quite clever, since they know he regularly looks up online activity activity discussing him. Over the next few days, his online activities resume, but mostly stick to him begging for donations and documenting every place he goes. The only notable thing about this is the very noticeable progression of his nose wound, which is getting pretty bad due to him picking at it. According to the information gathered and relayed on the Daniel Larson wiki, over the course of the 11th and 12th of April, Daniel staged yet another invasion, this time the American Dream Mall. As per Daniel's post to his YouTube account, which is now gone, he was escorted out of there by 20 troopers. Guessing from how many other crazy homeless people there must be in New York, people there are familiar enough with his kind to know not to give him the time of day and try to argue him out of his delusions. I'm guessing that's why we see little to no activity from Daniel for the next week and a half. On the 21st, user Real Tina Vanderwall made a definitive post compiling all of the evidence that had surfaced so far regarding Daniel Larson being a creep. While we've already covered most of the stuff in the post, it's worth elaborating on one of the more prominent pieces of evidence that you may or may not have seen before. For a very long time, this video of Daniel pushing a girl onto a bed has been making rounds as people try to speculate on what's going on. Some people claim Daniel was trying to do something evil, while others say he was just playing with her in a harmless manner. After people repeatedly brought it up to Daniel, he clarified in a post on his YouTube community that she was a close family friend and he was just playing with her. However, in the same post, he identifies her by name, and if we take a look at his old Twitter account, we can find multiple tweets in which he says someone by that name is an upcoming porn star and that he himself is also one. This, plus the many unreadably inappropriate messages he exchanged on Kick with people he thought were minors, and the facts that he eventually changed his name to Bill Carter so people wouldn't give him grief over it, are very damning. A day later, Daniel started posting on his community tab and TikTok, sounding like he was yet again in the clutches of a Bob impersonator. On the 23rd, he posted videos of how his trench foot was looking at the time, which I very fortunately haven't been able to find. Thank God. What we do have is this video of him celebrating his new headphones.
It's time to turn the big 4 into the big 5 and make everyone else go bankrupt. If you guys want to play a game of checkers, I will take it to a game of chess.
According to what's on the wiki, along with the new headphones, he also bought new socks. And not just any kind, but socks that cost $40 a pair. It's unclear how this happened, but it looks like he got his hands on some money and did what he always does, spent it all immediately and very poorly. This stretch of time in which Daniel manages to restrain himself from getting into altercations with random strangers doesn't just end, but crashes and burns on the 26th. After returning to his tried and true method of doing jumping jacks to thank for donations, Daniel undergoes the mysterious machete incident.
Emergency, emergency, I just got f***ing hit. I just got f***ing beat. I just got attacked last night. The person walked up to me, asked me if I could get them one cigarette. I said, I'm sorry, I don't carry cigarettes on me. They said I was being racist for saying that. The person was carrying a machete and just started going like, if you don't get me one cigarette, I will beat the living crap out of you. Get up now, take me to go get a cigarette. And then they started beating on me, like 100 bats, pretty much. It was like a machete, but it was like in some type of case. So when they were hitting me, when the person was hitting me last night, it was the case that was hitting me.
Oddly enough, despite how radical a claim he just made, he moved on from it without ever missing a beat. The 26th also sees Daniel adding a new thing to his repertoire. Instead of complaining about not getting enough donations and asking for more, he complains about getting too many.
Alright, my fans are the most manipulated people in the entire world. After I found out that I was never really in contact with Grace and it was an impersonator all along, I have made $700. I've never seen those numbers in my life, and it seems like all you guys care about is my life getting ruined. I'm gonna be serious. So you guys wait until I find out that Grace isn't real, and then you guys wanna spam my Cash App with hundreds of dollars? That would have been nice to get prior to all this. This is all f***ed up now.
If I were to speculate, I'd guess he's lying about getting that much money overnight, or at least the trolls that sent the money will wait until Daniel spend it and then refund it. I'm not really sure if that can be done on Cash App in the same way it can be done on PayPal, but in all honesty, it's not impossible that Daniel is so out of touch and entitled that he's actually complaining about not getting the money earlier or something. A few moments later, he claims he'd made $100 from his music sales. The money, imaginary or otherwise, immediately got to Daniel's head as he began talking like a business mogul immediately.
Alright, so I'm buying $19 in CrowdStrike stock. Even with all the transactions I literally just did, I still have $100. I'm going to go shopping.
What's strange is he keeps changing the amount he supposedly profited, ranging anywhere from the original claim of $700 all the way down to a measly $15. He's either actually forgetting what he initially said he got, or is voluntarily lowering the number in fear that people will stop sending money if he overplays his rich celebrity LARP. If that is his intention, he simply cannot contain himself as he proceeds to broadcast all the frivolous things he's planning to splurge on.
Okay, so I am thinking about going to the movie theater now because I got $50. So if I spend 20, I can save 30.
I'm glad Daniel is the head of state. He has pretty sound economic principles going on. In the meantime, the trolls were getting busy, roping Daniel into yet another delusion, this time of being in a $3 million contract with a record label called Paper Route, supposedly due to someone from past management signing the contract for him. Oddly enough, he mixes the lies the trolls tell him with lies he comes up with on his own, as he claims the person who was briefly his cellmate in one of his previous arrests was also affiliated with Paper Route and immediately recognized who he was. Continuing to inadvertently expose himself, Daniel reveals that after interactions with Grace impersonators, he's been looking for her OnlyFans account.
I've heard rumors that Grace Vanderwall has an OnlyFans account. I've never found her OnlyFans account, though. I've heard a rumor that Grace's OnlyFans account was because she was supposed to be doing the movies with me, and she had no one to do it with.
He's also given up going to Kansas and is instead planning to go to Denver, where the Paper Route headquarters is supposedly located, presumably so he can collect his $3 million payout. Before the end of the 27th, he makes the mistake of mentioning the accursed Akron Goblin.
So apparently there was also a guy involved in past management named Cryax, and he's pretty famous on YouTube. He's a YouTube villain, I should say, and easily manipulated. So apparently Cryax is the one that was leaking the nudes after apparently the Vanderwalls did the investigation.
Just imagine a collaboration or feud between these two. Another great clip from this particular run of TikTok posts is when he tells a story about having lost a $50 Airbnb gift card and now has to make not $50 but $200 so he can turn a profit, of course. It's very funny how he thinks that profit just means whenever he gets extra money for no reason. Later on, he starts talking about the Discord server and the subreddit about him being in a 3-day-long civil war. The schizo lore he gives for it is absolutely nonsensical drivel, not worth listening to, but he eventually connects it with his never-ending obsession with the Vanderwall family, explaining that the only reason they won't send him video verification to prove they aren't impersonators is because they're afraid it might leak to one of those groups. I should make a note that it's at this point Daniel coins another addition to his vocabulary, suppositively, which I take it he considers a very fancy word since he uses it about 100 times throughout these posts.
Suppositively.
In regards to his financial issues, he says this.
When I was in the mental hospital in Las Vegas, the mental hospital told me that I should be making $1,000 a day with my current fan base at $20 a person, because on average I get 500 to 600 views an hour. If you do the mathematics, that's $20 if I were to do per person for like a Zoom or videos or whatever, times 600. That is how much I could be making if I did the mathematics.
Not sure that math really checks out. You know a thought is about to be really articulate and sensible when it begins with, "They told me in the mental hospital." The 28th is a busy day for Dan's community page. In a post, he says, "A guy walked up to me in what looked to be a Family Guy mask, holding a police flashlight, threatening that he was in the Illuminati and that he was watching my every move and was going to kill me." While this absolutely sounds like what a Larson troll would do, Daniel plays it up on purpose so that he could ask for donations for the weekend immediately after. On the same day, Danderson plays the piano. Notably, he does his best to emulate the body language of someone who actually knows how to play and is really cooking, all while he's just picking out random notes to play. It seems whatever setup he managed to put together so we'd have a place to sleep and food regularly was coming to an end, as he claims the fans started once again contacting the establishments he was frequenting and informing them of his dastardly deeds. He acts quite stressed out about this and asks for donations to leave New York City and go to Colorado. However, just a few posts later, he can be seen eating a comedically large lollipop-looking snack. A few more posts go by and we can see Daniel getting upset over how much he's craving a can of Monster. He's literally me, for real. It's on the 29th that his stay at what appears to be a mall comes to an end, and after being asked asked by some security guards not to record and follow them somewhere, he says something very strange.
Alright, so I'm going to need an extra $100. I got fully doxxed. There was a school bus or something that let out 40 to 50 middle school students. Every single one of them knew who I was, had me on camera, and I'm going to have to be inside for the next couple hours for my own safety. The trolls, the middle school students from the school bus have notified the security, told them lies about me, all this stuff, trying to frame me. So I do have to leave this location, so I am going to need $100 to be able to do so. Guys, do not leave me alone and stop taking videos of me. I will have to call the police.
Apparently, these same teenagers also followed him to his motel and told the security there, who promptly banned him. Before the month's end, Daniel expresses his concern and fear that another war will take place.
Everything is so hectic right now. I think there's going to be another multi-year long Daniel Larson subreddit, the Daniel Larson Discord, civil war. You guys better be prepared for the nuke.
I like how, despite having access to the subreddit, in which many people don't even try to hide the fact that they think Daniel is just a crazy, homeless pedophile, he still manages to contextualize himself as some kind of Helen of Troy figure, and that they'll be fighting over him. The next few days are blurry insofar as Daniel's whereabouts, but the little I could find shows Daniel asking for money to buy new clothes after slipping and falling in the rain, and him apparently finding employment.
Hey everybody, so you guys remember when I said I got my new job? Yeah. I work at Planet Fitness, baby! Revenge! Money coming.
Eventually, in early May, it seems Daniel figures out that the people pushing this narrative that there's a war and riots happening over him is a joke, and makes a post to his YouTube community deriding it. Hilariously, this just prompts the subreddit to push it even harder, commenting things like, "It's his schizophrenia making him think they are fake. Little does he know, I'm at the Capitol building protesting right now as I type this." Shit on CNN and Daniel saying it's fake. There's already 9 people that have been injured and have been taken to the hospital in Los Angeles because of the allegations against you, Daniel. How many more does it take before you take accountability for what you've done? On the same day as he posted that to his community, he posted a picture of himself getting some ice cream at the Hard Rock Cafe, supposedly after doing a concert. Over the next few days, he gets banned from the Penn Station in Manhattan, reiterates how upset he is at people joking about riots, and posts himself looking like an absolute, beauty. And a rat. A few days go by without much worth mentioning happening on Daniel's end, but on the subreddit, a brand new bombshell was about to drop. To celebrate the 1-year anniversary of the original May 6th incident, wherein Daniel exposed himself to about 500 people while live on TikTok before being banned, Flexburger, the architect of the incident, decided to do an AMA on the subreddit. Usually the AMAs with Daniel himself are fruitless because he's not interested in doing anything besides role-playing as a celebrity and won't really cooperate unless you join him. However, the AMA with Flexburger was one of the most illuminating events in the whole saga. When asked about the child seen being pushed onto a bed by Daniel, Flex claimed she was the same girl Daniel was referring to in those tweets. Another user brought up the confusing timeline of events that led up to the May 6th incident, since Daniel had already declared war on Flex by the time Flex supposedly talked him into doing it. However, Flex explained the following. "I went by the name Josh as his manager. I told him that Flexburger was this evil guy hacking all of his accounts and exposing him. He had no clue it was me. When he was making all of those videos with the headset on talking about me, I was on the phone with him. He had no clue that Flexburger was me the whole time." Pretty funny stuff. It's funny that Daniel calling people hackers gets mentioned here because Flex revealed that he only became one of Daniel's managers because after just a few conversations with him, he voluntarily gave Flex his password and asked him to manage his YouTube channel. Another user asked Flex to get back into the fold and convinced Daniel to go back to Colorado so that he'd get proper housing. According to him, he'd love to do so, but his new management gatekeeps him and tells him to block anyone not in their immediate circle. When asked about those who defended Daniel, Flex responded, "The people on TikTok that defend him constantly drive me insane. I'm not sure if a lot of people know this, but this subreddit was actually mostly pro-Daniel around up until about a year ago or so. When I was his manager, I tried telling everyone that Daniel was a horrible person, but no one believed me. People like Papa Gut would defend him just because he has a mental disability. Never seen someone get away with this much. I'm glad the majority of the general public is finally coming to an agreement that Daniel is a creep. It took far too long. I found it disturbing how much of a pathological liar he is and how manipulative he can be. I talked to JP, one of his old caretakers, and he agreed with me and said the exact same. For example, during the Likey meltdown, you can hear him be like, 'JP threatened to kill me. JP forced me to do all of this.' Yet JP was in another room, having no clue what was going on. The lies got so bad, I remember a few times when I would confront him about the search history, he'd try and tell me the Denver police told him to look that up. We had a group of around 10 different people submitting tips with evidence of screenshots and videos to various sex offender hotlines and police stations in Denver. We had such illegal stuff from him. He sent his dick to minors as a sexting dating buddy countless times, even if they said they were like 14. Aurora police didn't care. We just wanted to report criminal activity, but they said that we had to be the parents of the underage kids he was messaging. Denver police at least made a little bit of an effort. They showed up to meet with him in a King Soopers parking lot. I was on the phone with him a few minutes before he hung up and heard him using his plot armor to his advantage, talking about, "Oh, I'm autistic, I didn't know better. I have a disability. I'm in disability services. I've been a victim of manipulation online," and they changed the text. Denver police fell for it and he got off the hook. It physically hurt me to look at his search history. Every day I'd catch him Googling CP-related searches at 4 in the morning Denver time. Whenever I'd confront him about it, he would either lie or have a huge meltdown and start breaking stuff. Deep fakes of various little girls on both his old laptop from Denver and phone. Looking up a lot of illegal stuff somehow didn't put him on a watch list. Attached to that last bit were a couple of links, one of which was Flex scrolling through the post Daniel had saved in his Instagram account, which were full of pictures of child models. And another, a text message exchange between the two, has Daniel explicitly admitting to having watched CP and texting minors inappropriately with full knowledge. Flex also said that Daniel is more aware than people think. The example he gives is the constant Vanderwall impersonators. In Flex's opinion, Daniel knows them to be fake but doesn't care, as long as he has someone to exchange inappropriate messages with. Besides badly wanting it to be true, Daniel's autism is part of why he believes himself to be a celebrity, since people constantly come up to him and recognize him. He's just unable to tell the difference between an actual celebrity and whatever he is. After having brought up how his time in Daniel's management was seen by the people following the Larsonverse online, Flex defended himself against some of the accusations that he was malicious as a manager, saying the following. When he left Denver to hitch a ride on a train and ended up stranded in San Francisco for a few days, Papa Gut made a video blaming me, saying that I forced him to do it. Me and a couple of others basically had to direct an autistic man around the streets of Oakland while he was having a panic attack every 5 minutes. We called the police 5 times that night, and on the last try, they finally found Daniel and took him to a mental hospital. Seriously thought Daniel was going to die, and it was all going to be my fault. Even though it wasn't, it was Daniel's own dumb decision. When someone asked him about the claims Papa Gut had made about Flex stealing money from Daniel's donations, he said, Daniel wanted to set up a way to get paid for his social media so he could be on his own, so I helped him. I'll always find that video funny because Papa Gut accuses me of all this crazy stuff, yet shows absolutely zero evidence or proof of anything. Papa Gut is a dumbass who cheated on his wife and still defends Daniel to this day. He said he doubts Daniel is actually a pedo and that the 17 and 22 age gap between Daniel and Grace wasn't inappropriate. Never seen someone go that far to support someone who likes kids. One of the more contentious topics was the accusations Daniel had levied against someone named Ryan. For the most part, no one really gives any credence to the things Daniel says, since he constantly lies, especially when he's trying to make someone he dislikes look bad. However, when it came to these accusations in particular, someone had begun to consider that even if he was lying about who did it, Daniel might have been sexually abused in some way during his stay in disability services. In response to this, Flex said, Daniel's never had sex or been raped before. I think the day he made that lie up was the day he made all those holes in the walls in the pink room. He all of a sudden started lying to me, trying to make me feel bad, and said he was a victim of assault. I asked more about the story since he had never told it to me before, and things were not lining up at all, and you could clearly tell he was lying. Let's, as a community, stop drawing attention to that lie. His lying about being assaulted for attention pisses me off so bad. Flex also said that Daniel hadn't written his own songs, specifically that he had to do all the writing for one of them. From this, we can presume that all of his other songs also had some kind of third party intervene and do the heavy lifting. User LaneTrain71 asked Flex to elaborate on the experience of being a manager. In particular, how often Daniel texted him, to which he answered, 24/7, never ending. I remember sitting in class with Daniel spamming me, saying there was an emergency, and if I didn't answer, he would fire me. The emergency was that Big Bank Records called him the N-word and was harassing him. Daniel ended up calling 911 and the police showed up. As expected, police were confused and didn't care. It's also in this AMA that we get some unforeseen Daniel early life lore after someone asks Flex to relay what he'd heard from Daniel in regards to the Tennyson Center he used to be in as a kid. He said he likes Tennyson a lot and was really good for him. He said things really went downhill when his grandma died. Daniel moved to Hugo, Colorado with his mom after she split with Travis. She couldn't take care of him anymore because she was paralyzed, and Daniel was an asshole. I asked him about her getting paralyzed. He told me she was stuck on the kitchen floor for a couple of months straight by herself and couldn't get up. I knew that was a lie, so I asked, so she pissed herself on the floor for a couple of months straight? To which Daniel responded, yes. Soon after, he elaborated on Daniel's upbringing. I believe his parents were definitely not good parents. It's not super hard to see that, especially when looking at Travis. His Facebook page is full of hentai profiles he made with his daughter's names. There's no doubt Daniel grew up in a bad household, but he 100% abused his mom and grandma. I hate the argument on TikTok that we should feel bad bad for him because of his bad childhood, when he was the abuser the whole time. And beating up your paralyzed mom in a wheelchair and grandma dying of cancer, does it get any worse than that? Straight to hell. There are comments of his mom literally confirming it on a YouTube video and Daniel admitting to it, yet people don't see it. They got into some argument and he hurt his paraplegic mom, which led to him getting arrested and put in foster care. I'm not sure if a lot of people know this, but Daniel's mom and dad actually have a restraining order against him. Also, he beat up Bob. Clearly, he loves attacking harmless people. I think it's important to mention that I'm just relaying all of these claims exactly as Flex made them. There could be some leeway here and there. Regardless, as Daniel's lies are being contextualized, someone else brought up all the claims he'd made over the years about having a job. Flex explains that he only had a job once. In 2019, his disability services got him one at a thrift shop. Interestingly enough, while Daniel was good enough at his job that he made some decent money, it was spending the money that was the tough part for him. Almost immediately upon receiving it, he was tricked by an Indian catfish into buying $500 in Visa gift cards and sending the codes, which Daniel did, and just like that, all of his money was gone. Due to his direct involvement with multiple notorious Larsonian incidents, people were asking for details which Flex happily provided. For example, he gave some background information on the Likey meltdown. What happened was he kept threatening to fire us for confronting him about his illegal searches. So we said okay, and left him. Within an hour or two, he came back to us crying, saying he would do anything to get back on the team. I remember being out with friends scrolling through his Likey page, dying of laughter. I literally couldn't believe what I was seeing. I don't know how these videos are real. He was on his laptop because someone got him to throw his phone up to the gods for grace, and obviously his cheap little Android shattered on the concrete. His hair was all spiked up because we kept telling him to take a shower, but he refused, and instead wiped his head all around with a wet paper towel. That about concludes all of the information Flex decided to offer the community through his posts, but before you think his AMA was all bark and no bite, Flex unveiled some of the most egregious troll material ever. For starters, there is the pencil incident, which was rumored to exist months prior to it actually being uploaded. But lo and behold, in the wake of Flex's AMA, it was published in all of its glory. In it, Daniel inserts a pencil, and then jumps around for a bit with it inserted. The next incident to be published was the shower incident, in which Daniel is seen drying himself with a towel while not wearing any clothes despite being visibly dry. In this incident, it's not the video itself that's the main source of horror, but it's the context. Apparently, Daniel sent this to his mom, who replied by saying, "Danny, why the hell did you give me a video of you naked? That was not cool. I'm disappointed in you. Why did you do that? I'm your mother." To which Daniel responded, "Sorry, that was a hacker. My phone gets hacked every now and then. Just to remind you, I get hacked. I've never seen that photo in my life." Then who took it? The elf living in your house? In the middle of these reveals, an unreleased song of his called Wild Hearts was also leaked, but we all know that's not what we're here for. Next up is the bottle incident, which Flex took his sweet time to post, supposedly because he wanted to space out the content to keep the community entertained. However, he did eventually post it, and it's not something that any human being should suffer to witness. Fortunately, that was the full extent of the dreaded May 2023 leaks, as far as I can tell, and we get back to the regularly scheduled Larson activity at this point. On the 7th, a few fans record themselves following Daniel around for a bit as he skulks around in a mall, and they give him a few basic hygiene items, which purposefully include a toothbrush. A day later, Daniel goes live and is in the company of none other than Michael Quinn, who now seems to be actively schmoozing Daniel up, which meant that a collab with the world of t-shirts was imminent. But before that could happen, something else did. On the 9th, he posted these TikToks.
I don't really like how many people are doxing conversations. Also, the labels threatening me to be fired in 24 hours if I can't get that to stop. Just to let everyone know, the text message that got leaked on the subreddit earlier, I blocked that person.
Can you guess what he's talking about here? Of course, he's once again soliciting all kinds of inappropriate things with catfishes and comparing himself to a cow being milked, as one does. He also confesses to loving the smell of, pee. This doesn't even put a dent in Michael Quinn's plans, though, since on the 10th, the Clash of the Titans finally takes place in the Big Apple.
Daniel, say hello. It's Joshua Block. Let's see you shake hands. Shake hands, guys. Hi, Daniel. Good to see you, buddy. How you feeling? What's it like to meet Josh in person?
It's at this point that we get to witness how different Daniel is from someone like Josh, as even during the live stream, Josh can be seen looking away from the phone and talking in a relatively normal tone. Meanwhile, Daniel is in the background tweaking for the entirety of the meetup, and instead of interacting with either of the guys he's with, he eventually starts doing this to get attention.
I always get bored when I'm at beats. It's so good.
Yeah.
At this point, we've sort of established that Michael has a lot to do with instigating the beef between them, but I don't even know how much instigation is even necessary when one of the parties is Daniel Larson. During their meetup, which was supposed to be a peace treaty to squash the beef between them, Daniel begins provoking Josh. Later on, during a stream in which he appears to be slightly drunk, Josh begins mocking this attempt at taunting him, saying Daniel is homeless and has no license to do tours. Around the same time the meetup took place, Daniel had his phone stolen and was forced to post from a computer in a library. Eventually, he did get access to a phone again, supposedly with the money from music sales, and made a new TikTok account. In the following post, he suggests he's no longer in New York City and that he plans to go to Florida, though without using the train, as he claims Josh got him banned from the station.
You guys are not going to believe this, but last night somebody called the police on me, and I got a ticket pretty much. I got a fine of $100. So apparently the ticket from last night, the $100 ticket, is a trespass ticket citation. So somebody tried to get me trespassed from the subway station.
On the 16th, Daniel is seen eating a very luxurious dinner in a Manhattan restaurant, and according to an archived post on the subreddit, once the restaurant discovered Daniel was unable to pay, they took his debit card and would only give it back to him once he's paid for the meal. In the wake of this, he claims he got the bill covered, made $80 from his music, gotten $1,175 of debt, and defends himself from the claims that the restaurant took his debit card, though I should note that when he holds up his debit card to prove he still has it, he held it in a way where you can't actually see if it's a debit card or some other kind of card. Daniel has a history of doing things like trying to pay for meals with his Medicaid card, so it wouldn't exactly be surprising if he were trying to play the same trick on the subreddit. Despite his financial issues, he says he's doing better than Michael and Josh, and I take that this explicit call-out was a sign that Daniel's belligerence was rising once again. On the 17th, he destroys his own headphones for whatever reason, starts jogging until he's out of breath, and closes the video off in a very interesting way.
I need my f***ing gun.
Apparently, this fit of anger happened because his management had paid for a $200 bus ticket that would take him to Colorado, and he managed to miss it. A day later, he returns to the mall, where he has another altercation with fans.
Leave before I get the f***ing police on you!
While there's plenty of footage of Daniel being generally perturbed by the presence of his fans, the highlight of this incident is when he runs up and punches one of the mall screens in order to appear intimidating to the people following him. These misfortunes don't slow Daniel down whatsoever, as he's still looking to go to Colorado soon to visit Disneyland, which he was tricked into thinking had a franchise in Colorado, and he has some words to say about Michael Quinn and Josh.
Okay, Michael Quinn and World of T-Shirts needs to stop asking me to do a porno with them.
On the 20th, he successfully boards a plane to leave New York City and return to Colorado. Upon returning to his homeland, he claims to have had dinner with Bob, but this not only ends the 2023 travel arc, but also the red shirt arc, as Daniel stops wearing the same red shirt he'd been wearing for probably 3 months at this point. On the 22nd, in a video in which he claims his entire career finances are at an all-time low and on the brink of collapse, he's seen in his new Fortnite skin, the blue jacket. What triggered him to start despairing about his money was the fact that, during a live stream that same day, he went to a Panera and ordered some food, knowing he wouldn't be able to pay for it, expecting them to allow him to eat for free, which did not happen. Also on the 22nd, he gets accosted by some trolls claiming to be security.
What's up, Daniel?
I'm not allowed to take pictures.
No, they called us. They're supposed to come here. We're security.
I don't have security.
Here, I'm gonna send it to them.
I'm on the phone with my security right now.
No, we have to send it to them, Daniel.
I'm on the phone with my security.
I'm the security.
No. Please leave. You are not security. No, you're not. I will literally have my security press charges on you. You're not security. You're not security. No, you're not.
Daniel, John Summons sent us here.
John Summons is fake.
No, it's not. Did you call the here, hold on, let me call.
Yeah, call.
You want to talk to John Summons?
We're here to protect you, Daniel. We're giving you a presidential escort.
Okay, my management and my record label is asking that you guys
Okay, holy shit.
stop.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. You smell like shit. God, bro. Oh my God.
After some thorough debate on whether they were legit security officers or not, they get Daniel to say what, at this point, has become one of his many catchphrases.
I will be pressing charges.
After spending way too much time experiencing the hustle and bustle of the big city, Daniel decides to visit the wildlife and relax for a bit. This gives him a lot of clarity, which inspires him to make some radical changes.
I am going to be adding new rules to my fan base, so for the next 5 years, if you do not donate on a regular basis, we will start banning.
This might have something to do with the $500 of credit card debt he was talking about shortly after, but that's just my guess. In one of the more wholesome moments of this entire hell saga, Dan takes a picture with some fans of his. It's very strange to think that despite his delusions preventing him from seeing the exact nature of his fame, he is, on some level, a minor web celebrity. For better or for worse, he's going to be recognized everywhere he goes, probably for the rest of his life. In a less than wholesome turn of events, while going to Haagen-Dazs to charge his phone for free, some fans show up and inform the employees of what he was up to.
John, someone told me to ask you if you've showered anytime recently.
Okay, I'm going to need to ask you guys to leave.
You still smell like poop.
After leaving while doing his best impression of a rich valley girl, according to a Reddit post for someone claiming to have been there while it happened, Daniel punched a woman in the face on his way out, prompting this.
You want to start on the breathing?
Okay, I'm on the phone with
Get out now!
You have the warrant for your f***ing arrest.
Oh! Holy sh**.
You're lying! You liar! Just because I'm f***ing famous! Don't ever freaking goddamn
I'm not sure why he decided this was the best moment to drop the gamer word, but I trust Mr. President's wisdom, okay? He always knows when to use it tactically. Immediately after, he walked into a crystal store, wandered all the way to the back of it, kneeled, and started hitting himself in the face, saying he was going to need the paramedics. Based on the incident with Bob in the car, my best guess is he was doing this in part so that he could tell the paramedics he was being attacked and they hit him first. He eventually started throwing around items in the store before also leaving it and wandering off, and starting altercations with other homeless people who happened to be in his path of destruction. Whoever Daniel was on the phone with as he walked around aimlessly managed to calm him down, and in the process of doing that, informed Daniel that he was going to get in trouble for saying the N-word, prompting Daniel to release this video.
Did you all know that I have friends from Africa? So, I'm not racist.
He eventually made a larger video addressing the entire incident, neglecting the parts where he was doing things he wasn't supposed to, and focusing exclusively on trolls supposedly harassing him. However, in a video Daniel hadn't recorded himself and looks to have been recorded without his knowledge, some of the fans approached him soon after the incident and asked him to calmly explain what exactly went down. This proved to be an effective strategy as he revealed some details that he deliberately excluded from his own later retelling of the story.
We had two people in the area that yelled, "We have guns." I literally screamed, "I will murder everybody in this area."
Daniel, you can't be saying that stuff, man.
But here's the thing. What am I supposed to do if somebody says they have a gun?
I mean,
I had to, you see what I mean?
I
had to protect myself.
Mind you, in the video of the incident we have, I'm pretty sure no one says they have guns, so I have no idea what he's talking about here. This is probably footage of the threat Daniel claims he made.
Okay, Columbia Records needs to get me security ASAP, right this minute, to my location, or I will get a gun and start killing people. I just got threatened with a gun in public.
From Daniel's uploads to his YouTube account, we can infer Bob is scrambling to get him affordable housing, though now this will probably have to be done through conventional means as opposed to with the help of disability services due to Daniel's past troubles with them. Soon after, he posts a video lamenting his financial situation, complaining that he doesn't get any donations anymore, and because of that he can't afford housing, right after saying he needs donations so he can go to the Rockies game. Eventually, he admits that Bob just doesn't want to be involved anymore, which confirms that most of the things he's been saying about Bob are extrapolated from casual conversations he has with him over the phone, as opposed to Bob actively helping him out. After asking for donations to his Cash App to pay for his $50 phone bill, Daniel gets himself drunk. I say that tentatively though because he doesn't actually seem to be that drunk. I'd venture to say he drank something alcoholic and then decided to act like an inbred crossing of Mr. Bean and Pee Wee Herman because that's his cartoonish understanding of how a person acts when they are drunk.
Oh, what's up, mate? How are you doing today? Oh, nice buddy, nice buddy. Oh, hey, oh.
Around the 30th, someone paid for a cameo video for World of T-shirts about Daniel, and it's absolutely hilarious.
Hey Daniel Larson, I just wanted to let you know I started doing Grace Vanderwall, you fat nose She loves the rhythm of my tism, and I can't wait to tag team with her. Quinn, your fan, call the coach now, your fan base is mine. You smell.
Okay, this message goes to Michael Quinn and World of T-shirts. I am from all of my concerts. So is Grace. You guys are never welcome.
I like how Daniel bans people from his concerts as a punishment, as opposed to setting the National Guard on them like we all know he's capable of. He's a tough but fair ruler. Daniel continues to gaslight his audience about his financial issues and brings back the fake banking app to pretend he has a balance of negative $2 grand. Once this strategy doesn't work, he tries to make it out as if the money is going to go toward fixing a water leak in Bob's house. After being fed up with the music industry exploiting him, Daniel becomes an experimental filmmaker and uploads a 9-minute video of him just walking in point of view with no sound, titled Daniel Larson Tries to Go on a Walk, but he finds out his backpack got stolen. Of course, I'm kidding about the experimental filmmaker thing, but I have no clue why this video has no audio and is recorded like that. Kind of eerie. Most likely due to the latest World of T-Shirts attack, Daniel remembered Cameo existed and decided to make his own account on it as a way to make some money. Immediately after, someone tricked him into saying he loves minors.
Hi Matt, your friends told me you were getting bullied at school for wearing a Minecraft backpack. I know what it's like to be different, and I want to send some birthday love your way. Minecraft is cool, and I love to go mining. I love miners.
Fortunately for Danderson, he was successful in his endeavor to secure housing. And not only that, but he also attended the Colorado Rockies game he was talking about earlier. On the 7th, he's pictured with some fans. All in all, the beginning of June is one of the best times for Daniel in months, and no incidents actually take place during this period. On the 9th, an account called LolCow Designs on YouTube uploaded a YouTube short covering something we haven't really mentioned: Daniel's use of Google Maps. Because of his very dysfunctional relationship with electronics, he doesn't use apps as much as he abuses them with a colossal volume of low-quality input. As previously stated by Flex, Daniel is constantly messaging people, uploading multiple things to multiple different accounts on multiple different platforms at the same time, without any real rhyme or reason. He loves to post, he loves the grind. However, amidst the chaos, we can discern Daniel's behavioral patterns, and they're not good at all. Basically, he uses Google Maps to upload random pictures of himself to whatever place he's in, make complaints about restaurants that don't give him free food, but most importantly, the pictures he probably unknowingly uploads to places like malls and gyms are rife with images of young girls. And you can guess why that is. But much like the May 6th anniversary reveals from Flexburger, none of these discussions managed to affect Daniel. He was more preoccupied with his Spotify.
Whoever keeps hacking my Spotify is not from my music distribution. It's coming from Spotify. So whoever at Spotify is doing that, I will make sure you're jailed for life. You better lawyer up.
On the 13th of June, he says he will be turning himself in on July 5th, but it's unsure what he's planning to turn himself in for. In a stream that came shortly after, he claims he's been framed by disability services, but this isn't related to him turning himself in. Instead, he spends most of the stream talking about how the services made him lose tens of thousands of dollars related to canceling recording sessions, which is definitely another lie. Most likely due to Bob's influence, there is a marked drop in incidents following his return to Denver. On his community page, he gives some slightly credible financial updates, saying he owes Bob about $15,000, and that since Medicaid dropped him, he owes $4,000 in hospital bills. But there's some good news as well. The revenue from Cameo has allowed him to once again try to start making music. Only one thing is distracting him from it now: the Great Chinese War.
Currently, I am asking for your assistance on a very dire matter. The Great Chinese War of 1973 is upon us. We must get our gunches in sync. I personally and professionally want war with the Chinese.
On the 18th, Daniel gets greedy and decides to jack up the price of his Cameo to $800, allegedly because of his legal status. In another post, he says the police showed up, but it doesn't seem like anything really happened as a consequence. A day later, another cache of private text messages Daniel exchanged with people whom he thought to be way too young gets posted to Reddit, and it's mostly more of the same, so I won't bother going through them, with this one exception. Do you know what the G-spot is? Just curious. No, I'm not sure what that is. So basically, it's this spot in your vagina up near the belly button. If you finger it, it makes you squirt 15 feet at 100 miles an hour. Oh my god! What a gentleman. The rest of June is mostly uneventful, with it being explained that him turning himself in was most likely in reference to him being taken by Bob to clear up the outstanding warrants on him in Denver County. Almost unexplainably, he goes to a Flo Rida concert, blames Bob for the delay of his music release, and at the very end of the month, his new track, Merry-Go-Round, with the most unintentionally creepy cover art imaginable, comes out. June was the first good month for Daniel in a very long time, ending up with him regularly sleeping at a motel, finally taking a shower, getting a haircut, and making a little bit of money on his Cameo. On the 2nd of July, he posts to his TikTok claiming Bob threatened him with a 9mm machine gun if Daniel didn't show up to court the next day. He does go to court, and whatever happened there made him very angry as he took to his YouTube community page to make a series of posts threatening to bomb the courthouse. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find the post, but given the things Daniel has said before, it's not hard to believe that he said that. Despite this brief period of erratic behavior, he returned to semi-normalcy soon after, and things continued to be normal for another week. On the 10th, he revealed he'd gotten a dog since, according to him, he could afford it. He's ballin'. However, some of his vigilant followers, one of which is known on YouTube as Goated Minds, knew that Daniel wouldn't be able to properly take care of a dog, who he named Music, since he was still just wandering the streets and would only give her water whenever he stopped at a restaurant or cafe. And even then, it was a lot less than the dog needed, since she was an adult German Shepherd. Daniel himself acknowledged his dog was struggling to eat, possibly because he was trying to feed her whipped cream and nachos all day. Most importantly, there was a real danger Daniel would hurt it during one of his fits of rage, which was really concerning. Goated Minds, along with a group called SEAL Team 6, made a big effort to pinpoint where Daniel was based on his TikTok posts, eventually succeeding in taking the dog back to the Longmont Humane Society. I will say the name SEAL Team 6 is pretty funny, but I wish it was the actual SEAL Team 6. I like to imagine the United States military deploying one of the deadliest groups ever assembled to deal with Daniel Larson. On July 11th, a girl called Ween, known on Reddit as Lover of Mom 69, found the restaurant Daniel was at, asked him to take the dog outside for a little bit, and when Daniel conceded, they put the dog in their car and drove off. Soon after, proof of Music's rescue was posted to Reddit, with the dog seen slurping extensive amounts of water, probably due to being very thirsty after their stay with Daniel. No one knew how Daniel would react to the dog napping, as he put it, with many even speculating he'd just move on from it nonchalantly like he'd done with many other things in the past. I honestly don't think anyone expected what was actually about to happen. On the 11th of July, things were silent. Too silent. Suddenly, he became active on his community page, revealing he'd just gotten out of police custody and had received new criminal charges. Eventually, he calmed down enough to start explaining his side of things. A combination of self-injurious behavior and the Walmart security throwing me to the ground. I hit my head on the ground at the Walmart by security, and they were sitting right on my knee, so when they pinned me down, the guy pinned basically put his knee on my head, not my neck or anything, but on my head. Along with this post came an image of Daniel with one side of his face being extremely swollen. His explanations, which have been archived to the wiki, continued. When she drove off, I basically started freaking out. I started panicking, I started hyperventilating to where I felt like I couldn't breathe because I was hyperventilating so much that I just couldn't speak. My phone was also dead at the time, so I couldn't call security. All I could think about was trying to go across the parking lot to where the Walmart was, and I walked in there, saying my dog got dog-napped. At that point in time, the security asked me to leave. I refuse, and I say, call the police. Like I said, creating a scene. About 50% of people in the checkout area start rushing over to where I am and start crawling me pretty much, and I lash out. That's a long story short of what happened. I don't know if anybody got anything on camera because of my popularity. The police said that there was no physical assault involved other than just a reaction, out of fear. I had more than the right because I did nothing. And yet, they were instigating the situation, so I had the right to protect myself. At that point, the stupid Walmart decides that they're going to press charges of $2,000 of criminal mischief on purpose because they know I'm a celebrity, they want all my fucking money, so they took it as high as they could go. They put me in protective custody at that time, and instead of going to jail, they took me to the hospital because I had injuries at that time. Charges were pressed on the person who was the dog napper. In a phone call he made shortly after